Hey everybody, it's GCU Bill. Been quite a while since I've done one of these, so fair warning, this was probably going to be one of the longer ones. Gosh, it's been months since I've talked about things, and so much has gone on, and I'm still pursuing the PhD. I've not stopped my journey. Hitting some of life's bumps that come along, very natural things that happen to all of us as we live. So I'm going to share these things with you. I'm going to share the lessons I've learned and where I'm at in the program and the insights I've got. It's been quite remarkable. So because it's so long, I'm going to go ahead and just highlight a couple things that I'm going to talk about, a few things I'm going to talk about, so that way you can decide whether you want to listen or not. I'm going to talk about attacking chapters 1 through 3 in the dissertation itself. That's the proposal section. I'm going to talk about what it was like going to Residency II. I'm going to talk about where I'm at in the program in terms of like how many classes left, because even though I shared I'm working on the dissertation chapters, I'm actually not finished with the academics portion of the program. I am going to talk about working on the city training and what that was like. So with that said, I'm going to go ahead and start digging in, and as usual, I'll share some data points so you can compare between what I'm experiencing and what you might or might not experience. So to rebase things, remember that my situation is going to be unique and different than yours necessarily. I'm a different person. I have different goals and objectives. I am after the PhD from Grand Canyon University, online program, going after general psychology. But my emphasis is on learning technology and psychology. I mean, that's really the three they call it the emphasis area. And those are the three areas. So I'm trying to become an expert in that space, and the area I'm currently going after and have written my papers on have been related to chatbots and stuff like that. My background is I do have a physics degree, my baccalaureate's in physics, and I have a master's degree in computer science. So for me, a lot of the psychology and education stuff has been very new. I mean, I had the psychology classes in college, but that was like 30 years ago. Don't want to give age, but I'm over 50. So it was a long time ago when I had that stuff. And so there's been a lot of relearning and new learning for me, which has been great. I mean, that's why I did it. I only work part time. I am a full time homeschool dad, and that's what I do. And my focus over the past many years has been to get my daughters, through education. And I'm quite proud, dad, to say that my eldest, 16-year-old, has finished her second year in college now. I'm really proud of her. My youngest, who's 14, has passed the state entrance exam, so she'll be joining her big sister at the state school next year. Yay! So fingers crossed. But what that meant for me is that they need less of my time, which is wonderful. But what am I going to do, with my time? So I work part time. Most weeks it's 10 hours or so, but some weeks goes as high as 15. So if you're a full time employed person, I remember that world. I get it. And you're only working in the evenings and weekends, can make the program hard. I actually have extra time that I can focus in, which lets me do reflection and thinking about the program at GCU. And that's part of what these videos are, is a collection of these insights, because it may help somebody else along the way. Plus, gives my daughter some looking back at, hey, that's what dad did. So that's kind of who I am and my background and where I may be different than you. So let's see, where should I start? Good things and bad things along the way. So on the good side of things, I did attend Residency II, and it was an awesome experience. Unlike Residency I and Residency II, everybody had all the fellow classmates had a much better idea of what they wanted to study. So in Residency I, there was so much ambiguity for everybody, I mean, including me. I mean, we all didn't know exactly what the heck we were doing. But by Residency II, there were people so far along in the program. I mean, their stuff was really solid. They're getting with their chairs. It was wonderful. So we can have deeper discussions about how we get through the process and what we need to do. If there was a piece of advice about Residency II, it would be get all of the presentation slides done before you leave. And I mean, including all those citations. There were so many citations you had to have that it takes digging and time. And so don't waste it there looking up how to argue whether the post hoc type of analysis is the right one for you. Have all those definitions. I mean, in the slides, it tells you have to list out all the different kinds of design types and analysis types with citations. So get those all done, no matter what technique you're going to use. Have those done before you go. Because even if you change your model while you're there, you can still go cite those same people. So don't spend your time looking that stuff up. Just get it done before you go. That would be a piece of advice. And continue networking. So gonna kind of ramble off to the side a little bit on here. So something really weird. Normally I'm like all gushing about the GCU program, but something odd had happened to me since the last video that I didn't like. I've shared before. I feel like I'm spending, this is my money, as I'm not on a scholarship. It's not a military given thing. I'm a veteran, but they're not paying for this. Um, as a customer, I'm paying $2,000 some dollars, so $1,000 a month is what this comes out to. And while I was going along in residency, all along I've been going along with the same 5 or 7 people, and built quite a connection over the past few years. We knew each other, we respond to each other's posts. It was wonderful. In fact, we were starting to hit residencies together. So, I won't mention all of them, but one guy named Hank, he lives out in Colorado, I believe. We had built a friendship over 8 or 9 classes. We went to residency together, Residency II. So, but while I was at Residency II, the follow-on class that I've been with all these same people on, I got taken out of. That was really strange because my friends, the ones that I built relationships with, they were continuing on. So I didn't quite understand. And so, that was disconcerting. But then I reached out to my counselor. And it was really strange because I now was not getting the same kind of service that I'd expected or gotten accustomed to. I mean, it used to be this counselor was back forth. Heck, if you listen to some of my past videos, you'll hear me lauding this person. But I wasn't even getting a response back. And I'm like, hey, and I knew time was running out. After residency, the next class was going to start. Why did I get bumped? In fact, what happened was I got bumped over into the next course, which delayed me a few weeks. Meanwhile, the other people are going along. So I was like, what's going on? So I knew I need to keep working. Hey, counselor, why did this happen? What's going on? I mean, my grades are great. I only made A's through the entire program, so it wasn't like I was getting bumped because I'm doing poorly and getting kicked out of school. What was going on? I didn't get it. My counselor still didn't get back to me. So I had to do something that I had never had to do before, and that is I escalated to her boss. And just, I actually was concerned about it because it was so odd. And I said, is this person okay? Why aren't they talking to me anymore? And it was only after I reached out to the boss I finally started getting back and forth. That was kind of irritating. I am at this point, I guess, I don't know, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13 some odd classes, almost $30,000 customer in, student. And I'm not getting, hey, why is this happening to me? And then in the interactions about it, I was getting a lot of vague stuff. I don't think I ever truly got what happened and why, but I have a theory. When I got bumped into the other course, I will note that there was only like 3, maybe 4 other students. I'm guessing what happened was that course was the one that I got bumped into was not going to proceed because it was such a low number of students. And so they had to pick somebody from my class. And alphabetically by my legal name, I'm always at the very last of the list. I've actually mentioned that before in some videos and how that's had some weird consequences. But I think that the magic 8-ball version inside of the algorithms that run GCU's who gets bumped and pushed where went and drew from the bottom of the list of that class my name and moved me over into that next course so they'd have enough people to run. I try to view it in a positive way, as I always do, look for the goods. And because I had the 2-week delay, the beautiful side for me was that I said, you know what? I have been working nonstop. I'm going to keep going. And what I decided to do was attack dissertation chapter 2. So dissertation chapter 2 is the literature review, right? This is the thing that covers all of your problem space and, help feeds your ultimate problem statement and all that. Because at residency, I met a really neat faculty member. His name was Dr. Cranmore, and he was very helpful and talked a lot about how to attack the literature review. And one of the things he noted that really struck me is he said, treat the whole thing like a bunch of mini essays. Don't view it as this, 50, 60 page behemoth. Look at each theme as a mini essay and then break that down into even more mini essays. And I thought, these are like discussion posts then. And because I knew my space so well, because I've read so many articles on it, I started designing my own themes, my own discussion questions. And I started attacking that way. And I am proud to say that I have now finished chapter 2. Why is that neat at this point? Because I'm still 3 classes away from getting into my actual chair assignment. So I'm looking at these I'm looking at the side because I keep my calendar up there, the course list, and it's showing that I will be in 8:55, which is when you get your chair assignment, at the end of August. Right now is April, and I have my chapter 2 done. Now, is it done enough? I don't know. But based on everything I've read and understood and all the sample dissertations I've looked at, it's pretty darn good. Some stats on that chapter 2 is it turned out that it ran from page, I'm looking at my board, it went from page 17 to page 75, right? End to end. Now that includes the little grading rubrics, but the instruction stuff has all been pulled out. The literature review chapter has in it a section called the review of literature. So you have all this front material, then the review of literature, and then the rest of that chapter. So chapter 2, literature review. Inside of it has a section called review of literature, and that's the nut of that chapter. For me, it ended up being 36 pages long when I got it all done and written, or well over 100 citations just in that part alone. So I felt really good about that. Time-wise, it ended up taking me a total of 3.5 weeks. 3.5 weeks. I worked every single day in those 3.5 weeks. I had that 2-week weird period of no classes, but I had access to all the GCU resources. I took advantage of that, and every day. And I always told myself in the morning when I'd start. First thing in the morning, I'm up at 4 o'clock in the morning. I like to work early. I'm like, okay, I'm just gonna attack one paragraph. That's what was my goal every day. Some days, though, it ended up being multiple paragraphs, and it unfolded really nicely. I ended up doing 3 drafts of it by the time it was all done in that 3.5, 4. Let's say 3.5 weeks got the first good draft, and then I took a half a week or another week and got another couple drafts all in there. But I got it done, and it's really good. I would say good, but what do I know? I haven't gone through the process. Don't even have a chair yet. Well, with that done and out of the way and following that process, I thought maybe I should go after chapter 3, and I did. And I took the same approach. I challenged myself every day to write 1 paragraph. Well, some days I would tell myself just write 1 sentence. Because a lot of that stuff in chapter 3, which is about how you lay out your proposed study and all the mechanics of that, your samples and where it's going to come from and how do you identify the limitations of the study, all those gory details of what it's going to be like. There were times that I was just like really digging to get 1 sentence out that really made good sense. But I did get it done. I'm happy to say. Chapter 3 ended up running from page 76 to 144. It was a lot. That page span I just gave you does include the rubric pieces that are in there, but all the instructional material pulled out. So I went from page 76 to 144. And it took about 4 weeks also. And that again is working every day. How good is it? I don't know. I think it's good. I used other dissertations as models. I found ones that were similar. Maybe nobody did what I did, but I can kind of piece together what others were doing. All recent ones, so I wasn't, on some random stuff from 10 years ago that they GCU's changed their models. I got that done. So from the negative thing about being bumped in a class, and not hearing from my counselor, which has just been so odd because she was so nice and so, back and forth with me in the beginning. I don't know, maybe I'm past some threshold and they're like not worried and focused on others. But from that negative experience, I was able to knock out chapter 2 and 3. I have got a solid draft. So unlike other people, when I meet my chair, I've got stuff. I'm really comfortable. Now, could it all change and be thrown up? Sure. But now that I've gone through it, if that were to happen, it's okay. It would suck. Yeah, that's just a lot of work. But I could do it again if I needed to because I really know what I would need to go and highlight from past research and other things. I did finish chapter 1 as well because once I got chapter 3 done, did a few drafts and redid that a few times, I was like, okay, well, let's just go see if I can do chapter 1 the same way, challenge myself to a paragraph a day or a sentence a day. And actually, that just took a few days to do because all the stuff from chapter 2 and 3, it was like mini versions of those. So I just went from memory and rewrote things. So that way it was like a direct copy and paste, all the stuff. And then I balanced it. So once I wrote it all for chapter 1, filling in the things, I then went and balanced it against what I'd written in chapters 2 and 3, pulled the proper citations over, and voila, now I've got chapters 1, 2, and 3, which constitute a GCU proposal, done, at least a first draft. So all that happened, and it came from that negative experience of being bumped from a class and not hearing from my counsel. So life gives you lemons, make lemonade, as they say, right? And so that's what I did. I just kept it going. Sorry, I'm going to drink one of my faves here, A&W root beer. This is going to be a long discussion because there's a lot of different things. As it relates to the chapters 1, 2, and 3, I'm going to share as a data point a few things in addition to what I've shared, because it may help you, because I didn't have a whole lot to go on besides other people's dissertations. So chapter 2 is what I wrote first, and it took me 3.5 weeks of working every day. How long did I work every day? I don't know, 3-4 hours every day, probably some days more, some days less if I can crank out a sentence, but that's what it took me. Chapter 3 was about 4 weeks every day. Then I went to chapter 1 after that, and that only took a few days. I ended up with, in total, when all that put together, 198 citations. Now, at Residency II, the leader of our residency, the super person, she had shared with us that she holds her students, the ones that she's the chair for, to 200 citations. So the fact that it ended up at 198 was pretty crazy, and it's just wow. Like, okay, so maybe I'm onto something here. Of those, 24%, I'm looking at my numbers up here, 24% are from the year 2017 and earlier. Now, that's important because we're in the year 2022 right now. That means 24%, if I were to publish my dissertation today, 24% are considered old types of citations. And you're going to have some of those because some of the seminal works that you've got to draw from for your theories and stuff like that are old. Where I'm basing my work out of comes out of the 70s. So I'm doing a whole thing on social presence through media and technologies with chatbots. And that came out in 1976 from Short Christie's work about telecommunications and social psychology. So there's a lot of stuff from that era that works. So it draws those dates back. I have about 2% of my citations that came from the year 2018, and then 74% of my citations are coming from 2019 and then are younger. So with 74% being 2019, that means that 5-year window thing we have to meet for these dissertation things. So I'm assuming but the goal when you look at the dissertation and is reflected by the person at my Residency II who led their thing, Dr. Hirschman. Oh, she's awesome. Was that 75% of your citations must be within the past 5 years at the time of dean's signature. So you have to get your proposal done, pop through doing your collection, your analysis, and getting all of that reviewed and done, and to the dean's signature. And then everything within that has to be 5 years or younger, 75%. So with me having 74% at 2019, that means I'm safe, with that 2% wiggle. It's going to be close on that. But 2019, I'm good until about 2023. So let's see, 2019, 2020, 2021, 2022, 2023. That's next year. So if I can't magically get that far, which I may not, puts me into a really precarious position. Remember, I don't get a chair for another 4 or 5 months. So maybe I went a little too early. I don't know. But if it becomes a problem, right, if I start hitting 2024 or 2025, one of the things Dr. Cranmore pointed out and shared with us during Residency II, which was a great tip, was that for your citations that are on that bubble or cusp, use Google Scholar, go pull them up, and then there's this thing that says cited by, and go click that, and then look at all the things that have been cited by your same paper that you were citing from your bubble year, and sort them by year and go see if they say something related. Now, he did caution that sometimes they provide a counter to it. So you got to make sure they're still saying the same kind of thing or the same insight that you can share. And that will let you update and rule your citations. So that's where I'm at, 74-ish%, 74 and a half, I think is what it came out to be, is 2019 and younger for me. So I'm good until about 2023. But then after that, I got a problem. So, so did I write it all too early because of that? That's I don't know. We're gonna find out. Start of the journey. I did allude, life things happen along the way. So I've not stopped taking classes at all. I've been going straight through, with the exception of this weird 2-week thing that happened to me. But I didn't stop at least working. But in that time, we all, as a nation and world, dealt with the pandemic stuff, and I did deal with my entree into the whole COVID realm, and was in bed for a few weeks. I was in a class, and the class had just started, and I was like, "Oh crap!" And I was feeling pretty miserable. The smell stuff, and it's like there's just a smell. It's like that was so weird. The smell went away, or things changed, or stuff started smelling really weird. But anyways, so I emailed the instructor. I thought, okay, the responsible thing to do is just tell him, hey, this is my situation. And the reply back, I mean, on one hand, can seem kind of callous, but on the other, it was just a matter of fact. And basically, it was, sorry to hear that. Hope you feel better. I can only grade you on what you turned in, though. Maybe you should talk to your counselor. I thought, oh my gosh. I'm just going to try to limit this course along. I don't want to bail out now. But I'm a big boy. I get it. That's true. He can only grade me on what I turn in, and I chose to look at it as this is adult land, and life happens. It's not their problem, and of course he can only grade me on what I turn in. Now I'll tell you who it is, and those who've had him will know because they've dealt with him. His name was Dr. Schmidt, and it turned out to be maybe the best class I've had. It doesn't even matter the material. This instructor, Dr. Schmidt, is really intense and challenges your writing in ways that are remarkable. When you do a discussion post, he enforces all the rules that you're going to find in the dissertation, which was wonderful for me. Now, at first, I got my rear end handed to me in a few posts, this or that, and I was mentally not even there, especially the first few weeks. So, my first posts were getting slaughtered. I'm like, oh crap, maybe I didn't get my first failure. But his feedback was so good and prescriptive. And his question drove me to think deeper on the material. It was a qualitative course, if I remember. And I had to look at my little board. Yeah, it was qualitative research methods. That it caused me to think deeper about the issues. And I was so grateful to have Dr. Schmidt. You have the opportunity, it might be scary at first, take his class. Because I bet you it doesn't matter the topic or material. You will learn stuff from that guy. Amazing. So that's just another one of those faculty member you run across at GCU. Whether it's Dr. Hirschman or Dr. Polk, Dr. Cranmore, Dr. Schmidt. There are some really good faculty. I don't pay me to say this. Again, I'm customer land here. And this is just really good, really good. So let's see, what else could I share that's going on? So I had life happen. My mom ended up in the hospital. I'm over 50, in the 50s zone. So my mother's in her late 70s zones, and she's in the hospital, and a little touch and go there for a while. I thought, okay, so I got to say goodbye to my mom kind of stuff. And what life happens, the courses continued on. Other things, just, life happens. Life happens. Shingles happened. Life happens. but I didn't hold anybody else responsible for these things in my life happening. I chose to focus and keep the ball rolling on the program. That's on me. And that's just how I view it. And so I just kept it going. Um, so there's I alluded that I would talk about life happening along the way. Well, there's some life happening along the way. Lots of good stuff happened too, with my youngest daughter making it into college was yay. Okay, let's see. Another thing that happened along the way that's been really weird. You may notice this frame around me is different than any of the other videos. As you're seeing in my office, I actually have a sleigh bed back there. And if you're into a Christmas Story, you may recognize a leg lamp from the movie. Anyways, the picture of my whole computer system has changed. And it's because I started having really bad neck problems. Of course, I wasn't really paying attention to it. I thought, okay, well, I'm just getting older, stiffer, whatever. But I ended up going to a chiropractor because my back was hurting. Maybe look at my error on chair kind of thing now. I got a new chair out of it. But anyways, my posture was really screwed up. And I guess from writing like this, all hunched and going through things and, cranking out that stuff hours at a time, I messed myself up. I'm not a young man anymore, and that's okay. Wiser. But I had hurt myself. My posture got really bad. So I did a number of things after visiting the chiropractor. I've had multiple visits with him. It's been great. And it continues to help me. I'll go back another 2 weeks to hold my position better at my computer, relax the muscle structure of my neck. I even went to get my eyes checked because I thought, okay, well, maybe it's because I'm, like this on the screen and stuff all the time. My eyes are fine, but the blue light glare and all that stuff, the optometrist recommended a special set of computer reading glasses. Now, I mean, this is unique because it's not even just a nearsighted issue, but when they told me when you're past 40 that there's the kind of glasses they can give you for reading on computer screens a lot that can help reduce strain and stress. So I got myself a nice new pair of glasses. I feel so sophisticated, but I do wear them now when I'm writing on the computer. And it was really cool because it must have been about a few days ago. My youngest daughter walked in. She had a question about something, and she's like, and when she was leaving, she said, "Hey, Dad, it was really neat. When I walked in, you weren't all hunched over." I didn't, explain to her why Dad went to the chiropractor. Just Dad's gonna go visit and get some stuff done. But she had made a comment about my posture. It's like, wow. So all these years, the last 2 years of working on this program, she'd always see me coming in when she'd come in to talk with me about something. All hunched over, and therein lies my problem. As the chiropractor told me, if your head is whatever pounds, I forgot what he said, 8 to 10 pounds or whatever, depends on how big your head is, I guess. But if you're leaning forward, from a physics perspective, all that mass is yanking on you, and if it's like a lever or a fulcrum that's pulling it, it's really bad out here even more. So working on being taught this thing about pushing my finger in my chin, get more straight. And so I've been doing that, and that's been a big help. So if you're starting the program or you're halfway along or towards the end or wherever, take care of yourself. That was something I screwed up. I just did. After working for decades in the private industry on computers and doing all my stuff, I never had a problem. Yeah. So, something to look into. Okay, let's see. The physical posture thing. I talked about chapters 1 to 3. I mentioned the Residency II. So where I'm at in the program is I look at the board. I have to do a Sci 827, which is my last academic class, which is going to be great. They're good. They're done. It is integrating for learning and communication. And then I also have and this is research course, RES 880, which is formalizing the research prospectus. Talk about that in a minute. And then after that, I finally get a chair. Yay! And that's developing the research proposal, Sci 885. And I'm looking forward to that. So I've got that formalizing the research prospectus class, Res 880. The prospectus now at GCU, which this has changed since I, first started 2 years ago, is now a PowerPoint. It's the PowerPoint you work on in Residency 1 and Residency 2. Well, I've got that. And mine's really good. Why? Because not only did I work on it in each of those residencies and kept updating it based on feedback, but now that I've written chapters 2, 3, then 1, I've gone back and refined that presentation. So I have a really solid proposal to work with as I enter that class. My guess is going to be, and I'm not in there yet, so take this with a big grain of salt. When you do, and I'm looking at the course number again, 880, a lot of the discussion posts are things that are going to end up being chapters or paragraphs. Paragraphs within chapters either 2 or 3, most likely 3, especially in my case as a quantitative study. So the fact that I've written chapter 3 already, in theory, what will happen, right? Back to, take this for what it is. I will be able to go and pluck out work from the dissertation that I've already done and drop those into the DQs. And then based on the feedback I get from the instructor on my DQs, if any feedback comes in, I'll just fix it up in my proposal and decision. I'll just make it even better. Oh, speaking of that, so there's a really cool thing that GCU does for, gosh, I wish I'd done the math on this, but for students, you get so many hours of tutoring. I don't know if you've looked into this, and I should have written it on my whiteboard to remember the name of it, but go find it. I think it was through the library that I found this, but you get so many credits of tutoring. Now, I don't know they can tutor me a whole lot, for what I'm doing, but one of the tutoring things they do offer is a review of your writing. So I did some of the reverse engineering math based on how many credit hours they give or whatever, and they have this little conversion chart. And it turns out that in any one calendar year, you can have upwards of 200 pages of text reviewed. That's incredible. I think it was 200. Either 200 or 100. I'm pretty sure it was 200. Because I remember thinking, oh, wow, I could actually give them my chapters 2 and 3 right now and have them review it, give me tons of feedback, improve it, then give it to my chair, right? Because I still have my chair for a few more months. And I keep going back and forth on my mind of when I should, pursue that. Because the other thing is I'm wondering, is like, okay, so this renews every calendar year. So I wish I had done it before, but it doesn't matter. I'm in the new year, it's April. The other approach is I could give my chapters 1 through 3 to my chair. If my chair blows up everything I've done and I have to start over in some way, well, then I wish I still had that 200 pages of review because I don't have to rewrite stuff and then give it to them to do a review and tighten up all my writing or help me tighten it. So anyway, so that's just something I'll throw out there. Another thing I've done that you'll have to do along the journey is, pardon me, I take another sip here, root beer, is city training. So the city training, this is a company or organization, this city thing, it's not the bank, but they offer online training, and it looks like GCU is contracted with them to provide courses, and the courses in this particular case happen to be related to human research, which is a really important part of what we're doing as doctoral people working with humans in research. We need to understand how to do this ethically. And so they have online things, and you have to have city training done to be able to submit your work for the proposal phase later on. You can do it at any time you want, and the city training is good for 5 years. So I went ahead and did it. I just went ahead and did it. I took my time to do it. I had to do it now or do it later. It's good for 5 years. And there are 2 classes, if you will, you have to do. And one class has 19 modules. The other class has 5 modules. I did the 19 modules over 3 days. 3 days to do it. Maybe you'll do it faster, but it took me 3 days to do it. So as you mentally, do the math on that, it's at 6 classes or 6 modules a day. It's about, I don't know how much time each one's taking me. It's maybe 20 minutes a class, maybe it was an hour. You got to get a feel for it. But as you budget your time, you may want to think about that. So 19 modules. Took me about 3 days to do. There is a minimum passing score. I did miss stuff and had to go back and fix some things, but sometimes the questions would change and sometimes they wouldn't. So one class was 19 modules, and I passed that. I got the nice little certificate online, and then the other module is 5. Sorry, the other 2 classes. One class is 19 modules. The other class was 5 modules. That 5 module class I did in one day. Got that certificate, so that was good. And then there are, so in addition to city training, when you're doing your work, you'll have to eventually submit your stuff to the Academic Quality Review Board. And if I remember right, they require that you completed your research ready classes. So city training stuff is required by the Institutional Review Board, IRB, that makes sure you're meeting all the ethics stuff. And the research ready stuff is required by the Academic Quality Review Board, which is the peer review process provided by GCU of other doctoral scholars who are reviewing your work to see that it makes sense. And they require for that research ready, for the Academic Quality Review Board stuff, you have to have 5 research ready classes done, and I've done all those. In fact, 1 or 2 of them I think I did originally to get to the Residency II, and so then I took the remainder, and now I have certificates all within the past year of those as well. So when I get to submit my stuff to the AQR, Academic Quality Review, peer group review thing, I have one. All right, so that's all that. Boy, I am now running at 36 minutes, and so if you've been listening this whole time, thank you. I hope something has been of value. Really, just because I may not talk again until I'm with my chair. Hit my first class I don't like. I mean, there's certainly been times where I was like, oh man, this sucks, and screw this, or why am I doing all this? And, I pull through those. Those only last a minute. Whenever that happens, not very often. But I'm not enjoying the ethics class. I'll be very blunt. The teachers are wonderful. No problem with the instructor. But the course material and the way the questions are written and the assignments you have to write are not enjoyable for me anyways. I find some of the questions and stuff vague, and maybe that's related to ethics being a subjective area, but with very specific rules about it. It just doesn't feel good or right. I were in charge of the program, I would submit that they go get a course designer. Maybe they did this, and if they did, wow, then ethics just really sucks. But the courses, but I would get a course designer, and I would go get a ethics consultant, specifically an ethics consultant. I mean, that literally does only ethics consulting, and maybe one that does it only for academic stuff. Bring them together and then see if they can generate a course. Now, obviously, the program, the GC program has been around a while, and it obviously is doing what this program in school wants. But I'm just saying, as a student, compared to all the other courses I've had, it's been the worst by far. And not because of the instructor, because the instructor I have, Dr. N, she's been great because she is interactive, and that's really what's saving it for me is she's asking great questions to dig into it. It's just the discussion posts, the discussion questions that are there, and then the assignments. It's just like, really, this is just wow. So, but maybe it's related to all the little nuances of this human constructive ethics, and there's a reason I didn't study law. I don't know. It's just for me. I'll try to let it go. Like that's 2,000 books. I wish I could get back, but structure is good. That's not the issue. Now let's see. Life is great. It's happening. It's unfolding. I'm still on my track. I'm doing the best I can. Some hard stuff along the way, personal life, and then of course school challenges. But went through lots of great life stuff happened too along the way. Almost there, at least in terms of the academic side. When you go read about what people say, the academic's just that first phase. There's still other phases. The next phase that I keep hearing on is so difficult is cranking out the proposal, which is chapters 1, 2, and 3. And I'm really happy to share that at least at this moment in time, mine are in great shape until I have this dissertation chair that tells me, okay, good, bad, otherwise, So at least I have that. I'm going to go in with that. So that's the next big challenge. And then I heard the challenge after that is, getting through all the AQR stuff. I'll get there when I get there. So, chin up. I guess we didn't make it into the NCAA playoffs this year. So last time, or one of the other videos I did, I talked about being in that and how fun that was. Didn't make it this year. That's okay. There's always next year. But you know, GCU lobes and all that stuff. Well, keep up those antlers and rock on. Do your dissertation thing and lobes out, everybody.